What's up, everybody? I hope you're having a wonderful day. You're about to check out my new tutorial on how to create chords from Melodic Progressive House. I really hope you guys enjoy it. Please be sure you check out my new collection, Dream Colors, that drops tomorrow, the 31st of March. It's going to be on all platforms and stores, such as such as Spotify, such as Bandcamp, and SoundCloud, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, any of those places. Check them out for me. Let me know what you think about it. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and let's get into it. Hello everybody, welcome to my tutorial for today. This is Z8phyR, and we're coming at you with a Plucks tutorial, how to create Plucks to go along with your awesome chords that you are creating for Melodic Progressive House. So what I've done here is designed a little sample project to kind of go over a couple of different ways that I myself personally make chords and plucks for Melodic Progressive House. So here is the sound here. And then that's without. So basically we're going to go over each little my three favorite methods of creating chords or creating plucks to put into my melodic progressive house tracks. So first up here is the concept or just the chords on the keys here. We can listen to this. And it's really simple layout, a C minor. I just started with a minor seventh, I think, and you can go to the stamp tool, find a minor seventh. And you can see I could click the C here, and it made that for me. And I kind of did that, you know, all along the way to make my chord progression. But also I've done this one quite a bit, so I kind of just know where to go, sort of where to put the chords. So don't get too hung up about how to place the chords. Just make sure that they sound good to you. Once you do that, though, then you can come to design it. You can come to make it. So what my favorite way to create chords is with Harmless first. We can listen to the Harmless pad here. Now, by itself, it might sound a little weird. It's because what I ended up doing when I designed this concept was I ended up kind of making a low, mid, and high portion of the pluck, just so you can kind of see all three. So anyways, though, we'll start from like a default little, a default template, and I'll show you how I design well, basically a standard patch for me for a pluck. This one's a little different though because I added a little bit of this harmonic into it, but it's okay. It's kind of the same thing still. Yeah. And so what I usually do when it comes to setting up chords or setting up my plucks is, of course, you have your, we're just going to copy and paste the information from my old one over down here. And usually once I have the information, I can start designing. So let me go here and let me try not to make this confusing for you as well. All right. So usually I turn the unison up. I might bring this little pitch thickness down, up or down a little bit. Same thing with the pan and knobs. This is kind of as it's playing. So basically the big deal here is your unison into your pluck, your filter frequency, your amount, and the interchanging of these knobs is really what kind of characterizes the pluck into whatever fashion you want. But the big deal here with Harmless is why it's so kind of powerful and fast to make plucks is because of this little pluck decay knob. It's actually worth using and doing if you like to use Harmless, and it's kind of one of the reasons why I like Harmless, because I feel like you can just achieve that sound very fast. This sound though is achievable in pretty much any VST, so you don't have to feel like if you don't have this knob, you can't make the plucks. But it's just the way I go about doing it. So and then if you want to change your character of your chords too, you know, this is why the timbre comes into play. My favorite two types to use are the saw and the square tooth, and then changing these phase randomness kind of changes the places it hits during the track. So these are kind of things you can make where it does change the sound, but you can also make this within your mix, as in like, well, if I phase it this way a little bit, the chords kind of stick out a little bit better. So kind of look at these knobs that way, where you can kind of tweak them as the mix is playing, and you can make them sound even better. So really that's... Yep, really, that's really it to creating the Pluck and Harmless. There's really not like a whole bunch of complicated stuff to it. Like these knobs and stuff that go around, they're really just to make your sound different. That's really it. I do add a couple of effects down here low end. Sometimes I will add a delay too, stereoized with maybe like a really short delay so it hits in between. So like I would totally go with that, you know, like that's kind of how I work. If it sounds really cool, I'd go with it. But you know, it's just sort of how I always do it when it comes to plugs. There's not like it has to be the same way. Like all these knobs are meant to kind of be messed with and moved around to make the pluck even more unique. But some things that makes big changes to your sound was going to be your unison, your pan and pitch, the unison type, and then these green knobs. Just think these green knobs are big deals here for making your sound a little bit more richer, a little bit more thinner, a little bit more fuller in the body, or any like that. So you kind of have to listen with your ears here when you do this, and then you'll really start to figure out like what space the plucks need to fit in better, the best. Otherwise, it's a little difficult just utilizing a preset if you're not quite sure how you want that preset to go into it. But you know, so that's how I would design it in Harmless. But let's just say I used a preset as well. And I'll say this in case you guys might wanna use this one. But let's just say we use the preset, right? What I do is I would pick a preset, Dream Keys, why not? And usually I turn off the effects or just turn them down low because I usually like a little bit too much. And then you can copy and paste your MIDI down. We can mute this. And then we can like, maybe it's a little too much of the top end going on in this one, so we can kind of like raise the middle, the fundamental, closer to the fundamental frequencies up, and then these higher timbres we can kind of like reduce their strength. You know, and then after I kind of go around the circles like this, then I'm like, all right, I like this, and then it goes right into my track, you know, like that's pretty much how it works. So in any kind of sound you take, let's take E piano here. And, turn off all your effects here. And then you kind of approach it just like you were creating a pluck from scratch. So you make sure it has a little bit of a pluck amount. Turn the decay down a little bit here. These are movements you're going to make a lot just by continuously sound designing, which is what we're doing. We're designing sounds. You continuously sound design here. You'll start, these knobs makes a lot more sense. But if you need more information, I just recommend you really do a little bit of study about subtractive synthesis. That's what all of this is, subtractive synthesis. And if you're not too understanding or not too sure about what subtractive synthesis is, or maybe you want some more in-depth on the inner workings subtractive synthesis, I could help you guys out here or give you some resources to study and watch and follow as well, if that's something that can interest you more as yourself and your journey. Yeah, like that doesn't sound bad. So that's basically, the way you would go about creating or putting in, from the chords, you design the piano chords, and then you want to make it a pluck of some sort. Then, that's kind of how I go about doing it, personally. And then how we come across with these little MIDI layouts, how it was arranged out. Basically it's just a I don't really know. I can't remember the proper term for it. I probably should have looked it up. But it's just like every other two spaces in between your roll here. And then you can see where these little thick lines, I don't know how good the quality is, but if you can see these thick black lines in between here, that's the start of every bar. And then right here would be a black line as well, but you can't see it because of the keyboard. But essentially, you can kind of see how the pattern works just from a simple study of one bar. This is one bar of the chords. It's converted like this, and then it's repeated across to make the rhythm. So that's kind of how the rhythm works. But if you're really not sure about creating rhythms for your chords, I can really go more into that too. I don't know if it's really an issue with people doing that, so that's why I'm not really going into it. But I know it's more of an issue just creating them themselves, or like sound designing the chords or knowing what patch or preset to pick to fit it into your chords. So next up here is a silence patch for designing them. Here's what I came up with before. And essentially it's kind of the same way you would approach. Once you figure out how to design in one, you're gonna have the way of designing down in others. But for this one, we could just start this one over. You turn the voices up here. We can just stick with one or two oscillators. Turn your voices up. Keep it a saw. Make sure it has a low pass going off in here. I always like to give it about like 20% drive. I don't know if it really matters, but it kind of helps give it a little bit more power presence into the mix. And sometimes it's actually good to help have this playing when it's going. So we turn the volume down until we have it figured out. Cut off. I like to turn warm drive on as well. And then here I like to go ahead and have a mod envelope attached to the cutoff filter. And then you don't have the way your envelope is set up is you want kind of a short decay, obviously here because it's a plug. But you don't really want to sustain it all the way down all the time. Sometimes if you leave a little bit of sustain in, it lets a little bit more of the tail of the pluck itself shine through. So I don't give it much modulation of the cutoff here just until it sounds good. Oh, and then make sure your polyphony is up, at least, you know, like 6, 8. Polyphony each voice. If you have it on like 3 or 4, it'll cancel one of the notes out. So the polyphony amount matters as well. And that's like the essence of it starting. I might add another voice here. I might turn a couple of these down to like 4. Add 4 more voices on the right and make it like a maybe a pulse sound. We'll see. And then I turn the detune up a little bit just so they're not all clicking at the very beginning. Good. And then you can make your pluck here as aggressive or as gentle as you like. It just kind of depends on what's going on with how you're feeling about the track more than trying to make a specific sound fit something. And then, oh yeah, key tracking can help make things a little bit more even, I suppose, across the board. Kind of so you don't get too, you're not too over filtered, so to speak. So you see, it's really a simple approach. It's nothing too complicated. Right here, the pluck's about made, you know. You know, it's a pluck that I would 100% go with and work with and put into a track. There's also, like, from when it comes to here, this is just all extra. Just think of it like that, extra, extra. You don't have to have it, but a good practice is to probably turn down some of the bass that's going to come with it. Maybe around your 120s, just around when it sounds nice. You can give it chorus. You can also do like delays or reverbs, which I'm not really a big fan of using the inbuilt reverb for things. Rather, I like to use external plugins and external things for external effects for adding it. But the reverb kit inside of Silence does sound pretty good. I actually do like it, so sometimes I will just keep it in, just and have it part of my process of creating it. So just something to keep in mind as well. But really, that's kind of the essence of doing that. Also, chords really is just used to kind of thicken the pluck up. And then really that's it. So, and then what you would do here is when your track is going along and you're doing your arrangement on your track, you're just gonna automate this cutoff filter here more than anything else. But of course, you can be as creative as you want about how you want to automate. And this isn't about automation. So, but you know, you're gonna want to filter this. And then once you have it to a good place, you know, you just leave it there and then create an automation clip for it, and then go on from there. So that's basically how I would do Silence. And then if you were like, say you use Silence and you're more interested in finding a preset, it's kind of the same thing here. So let's just find a preset. We can even go to the factory, and I will just try to find a preset, and I will try to edit it to make it fit into my track. Let's see if I can find one. Let's see. maybe a key. Let's just try a random. There we go. Let's try a random pluck here, just because. And then what we'll do, let's try grasshopper. And what we'll do is we'll try to make it trim it to fit our whatever our sound is. So I'll copy and paste the MIDI information. I'll mute that here. This one's probably a little too much, but it's all right. Yeah, it has like too much notes going on here, but it don't matter. Yeah, it don't matter. It's the same thing. So there you go. There you go. Now you can see, like, you can just take any preset really, and you just turn it into your own sound to fit into your track. So just because there's presets there, it doesn't mean you don't touch anything that comes with it. You might need to add some more voices. You might need to change things like the pulse. You might need to change things like the signs, the waves, and all that stuff. Those are all important. Last up here, I'm going to show you how I make Plucks and 3x OSC. Sorry, I forgot the name of the VST to be honest. But this is one that I started making Plucks in when I very first started creating Melodic Progressive House, and I just wanted to learn how to design sound, period. You can hear here. And the reason why I chose 3x OSC is because it was simple. Let's just say that it's just simple. So when I looked at it and I was like, I want to understand sound design, I chose 3x OSC because of the interface. It was stock. You could put it inside with it. You didn't have to like know a bunch of stuff, you know, like basic knowledge kind of got you there. So what you want to do here though is we could start this we could start a new one here and design it, because really there's no there are presets around here, but I don't think I've ever really used them since like FL7. So let's just make our own. So we'll copy and paste the MIDI information across here. I'm going to go ahead and I need to reset all this. It's not all reset, huh? Well, let's just pretend like this is all reset here. Turn the envelope off. And then, yeah. Yeah, okay. This is about right. About what it would sound like. In fact, what we'll do is, I'm not sure why the default didn't change those settings, but we'll just do it like this. There we go. And we'll put it on mixer track 4. And we'll delete that. And then what I'll do here is I'll just create a new one from scratch. But the deal here is we just turn down the volume so you don't get blown away. Turn the pitch down here a little bit, and then you can pick your sound if you want. Like Sol's a very good one. And then we can put in some oscillation to the mix. So so if you want to add a little bit more noise, different tone of a sound. You know, and so usually, you know, I might add a square or this little square saw thing, and then that's really it. You can add a third one too, and then you can kind of do stuff like this. Like you can make one of higher portion of your plug. You can make one a lower. Let's go like this. Let's do 36, 24, and then we'll do a 12. And then I pan the top ends a little bit. You could pan, so you could pan them out a little bit. You don't have to give them a lot, just a little bit to give them that pseudo stereo sound. And then we can give it a little bit of phase randomness. All right, and that's really about it to making it. So all right, and then we'll go to the envelope here and add some envelope awesomeness, so we can turn all these knobs pretty much down. It's kind of the same, ADSR. You just kind of want to worry about that, but the tension here helps make it sound more pluckish. So you see how volume plays a big role in everything. And then also we're going to go ahead and turn down our filter. This is our cutoff filter. And then we're going to go ahead and give it an envelope. So we'll activate the envelope and we'll turn it up to maybe like 20, 30%. It doesn't really matter. And then we'll turn down the sustain. Same thing. Look at that. So there you go. Like now you're just making a pluck for everything, and if you can see kind of the method of what we're doing here, of how we're trying to tailor these, you're going to be understanding the essence of how to make plucks for really melodic progressive house. But once you have your plucks all made, you know, like say we've made them all, say we're happy with this. Let's just choose these 3. Then what we'll do here is we go ahead and just make sure they're all on their own mixer track. Go ahead and throw some EQ on them. And the big thing about EQing is you got to make sure you assess it in the mix. Don't just trim stuff off just because. So this is in context to my mix. And I EQ it to make it fit. And then after the EQ is, we're gonna throw some compression on it. And then, you know, compression is just so like you just can make it even. A lot of times, if it's made decently, you're probably not gonna have to worry too much about compression. But compression will add a little bit of color or difference to the sound, or make it sound just a little bit more stable, so it's heard evenly throughout the whole entire jam. So this is why the compression happens here, because you can see the levels of compression when things were going on and happened. So it brought everything to the same level and kept it going. So that's really the reason why I really compress them when I do compress the plug. Sometimes I don't care about doing it, but I do think that it's probably good if you need them to be more consistent and they're a very like significant portion of your track. Consistency about how they are presented is pretty good, but that rule is also made to be broken. So there you go. And then after that, I went ahead and bust them together. And the same thing, you bust them together, you EQ them, you give it some more compression. It's just a stock compressor on it. And then I added some reverb just for funsies. Hold on. All right. Sorry about that. And then that's really it. After you add the reverb, this is all like the effects. And then right here at the very last part of it is the sidechain. And the sidechain, I just went ahead and did a lazy man sidechain. That's what I call it. And it's just so I just automated a volume envelope, so it actually doesn't sound that crisp. Because it's kind of when you start messing with really fast movements with your automation clips, it can introduce clipping artifacts. So it's kind of why I don't do that too often anymore. It's very noticeable for me, even if it's not noticeable to the listener. And I can't stand it anymore, so I don't really do this method that often because of that happens. But it's okay for demonstration purposes. It's completely irrelevant. It shows you what it means, because, well, essentially you need to know what it sounds like with the sidechain and without it. And actually that clicking is probably the 3x OSC. Oh, no, it's not. It's the bass. I didn't even know. See, I forgot I made the bass and wasn't paying attention. But yeah. There we go. And then once you EQ'd it out and it's all good to go, you are done. Like, that's how the plucks are done. I have them all grouped to their bus, and then that will be gone to the pre-master, and that will be it. Like, for your plucks, it's time to move on to our next, whatever our next thing is. But yeah, that'll be it for today's tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions about what I talked about here. If there's anything I did cover that I didn't cover more in depth, or anything that well, you understand now that you didn't beforehand. Just write it in the comments. Let me know, guys. I would really appreciate it. Be sure you check out tomorrow, the 31st of March. Check out my new collection of EPs called Dream Colors. Be sure you check that out for me, guys. It would mean the world. Thank you all so much for listening and being a part always, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching the video and tuning in. I really appreciate it. Let me know what you thought about the video. Tell me what you think about it by putting your thoughts into the comments below. It really helps me bring you better content, and that's really what I want to do, is not only be a better musician myself, but bring you guys better content to help you grow. So it would mean the world to me. Thank you so much. See ya.